Today, I'm going to show you the best light weapons to run in the finals, specifically for rank, so you could rank up as fast as possible. I am a top 500 light player with over 850 in-game hours, mostly all on lights. Instead of making a tier list, I'm going to make it simple and show you what guns to use, as well as tell you exactly everything you need to know. So here is how the ranking system works. Good means that you should be using it, situational means that it's only good in certain situations, and bad means that it's completely useless. 93R is a good weapon and it does solid damage, but for the range that you get, it's not worth using over other weapons. The 93R goes in good. The ARN is a very good weapon. Yeah, it lacks damage, but the recoil is very easy to learn. This means that you could beam players across the map and still deal lots of damage. Since the recoil is so easy, it's easier to hit headshots, which compensates for its low TTK. In addition to that, you also get two 30-round mags, so you don't have to constantly reload. The ARN is basically like a long-range XP54, so I recommend keeping it on reserve depending on what map it is. For example, the ARN is good on maps like Kyoto and Las Vegas Sandstorm, and it's good on the suspended structure variants of maps too. The ARN goes in good. The XP54 is all around a very good weapon. It does good damage and it has a fairly easy recoil. The XP is basically good at everything, and both invis and dash playstyles work with this gun. The XP54 goes in very good. Okay, so you guys may think this gun is useless, but actually you are wrong. Unless you're really good at sniper, then obviously use it if you're good with it. But in most cases, it's better to use a normal gun. However, let's say that it's the final round and it's a suspended structure map or it's a long range map. In that case, it's actually better to run a sniper because it's useful in dealing damage from far away. So I would save it on reserve. Sniper goes in good. As a side note, I would recommend carrying glitch nades along with sniper because low fire rate weapons aren't very effective at destroying shields. Bow is very similar to sniper because it's also a long range weapon, but the bow has a very different aiming style compared to normal guns. For example, the bow requires you to pre-aim targets rather than tracking them, and you also need to be good at flicking with the bow. Bow does take a little bit of practice to get used to its different way of aiming, but if you learn that, then it's very good at dealing damage in most mid to long range fights. You don't really need a reserve weapon if you do play bow, since it's good at all ranges. The bow goes in good. As a side note, I would recommend carrying glitch nades with bow because it has a low fire rate. Okay, I think everyone knows that this weapon is a joke and it doesn't require much explaining. If you're good with it, then go ahead, otherwise don't use it. The dagger goes in bad. For the longest time, the LH used to be the best light gun, but after its damage nerf, it's really not worth using when you compare it to other guns. The LH1 goes in bad. The M11 is a great close range weapon. It has 40 rounds and the reload time is very quick, which makes it perfect for aggressive playstyles. But the only issue is that it barely has any range. The M11 is good on maps like Monaco and Las Vegas, since fights are usually closer, but on maps like Horizon and suspended structure variant maps, it doesn't do as well. I recommend having a long range weapon on your reserve in case it's needed. The M11 goes in very good. The Matter is a solid shotgun and it does decent damage. However, currently the double barrel is a way better shotgun compared to the Matter. So if you're gonna use a shotgun, I recommend just using the double barrel. The Matter goes in good. The SH, also known as the double barrel, is the best close range gun on light. It does 195 per shot, which means that it can 2-tap heavies and mediums. Even better, it can 1-tap lights. Both invis and dash playstyles work with the double barrel, and I highly recommend you try it in ranked. Obviously, this is strictly a close range gun, which can be an issue in some situations, so I recommend keeping another gun on your reserve for long range maps. The SH goes in very good. Currently, the sword is not playable because Appo decided to throw a little tantrum, so the sword got nerfed. The sword is basically unplayable now, so I don't recommend using it until they buff it again. Once again, if you are going to play a close range gun, then just use the double barrel. The sword goes in bad. The throwing knives are actually a really good weapon for mid to close range fights. It does take some practice to learn how to play since it doesn't work like a normal gun. For example, the knives have a bullet travel which takes some time to get used to, but other than that, it's a very good at dealing damage in close range fights. The throwing knives go in good. The V9S is pretty good since it doesn't have much recoil, so it's easy to hit shots from far away, and it can reload very quickly, which makes it similar to the M11, except it has more range and less damage. You could run this with invis or dash, so it's very versatile, but it just lacks the damage to compete with the XP and the M11. The V9S goes in good. Okay, so now you should have a basic understanding of what each weapon is like, but there is no such thing as a good weapon. You see, how good a weapon is subjective to what map you're playing it on. For example, some maps don't play well with close range, and some maps don't play well with long range. Knowing what weapons are good on each map will give you a better understanding of what weapon to use. Fortune Stadium is good with weapons like the DB, M11, and the XP, since most cash outs on this map are usually close range, and because of the tall buildings, big structures, and pretty much no open areas, long range weapons aren't really as useful. Skyway Stadium is also a close range map because it lacks open areas, so close range weapons like the DB and the XP are better. Also, pretty much every cash out on Skyway is inside a building, so that's another reason to run close range weapons on this map. Monaco is good with mid-range weapons like the XP54 because fights can be very close up and very far. For example, the cash outs in the forest and on the edges of the map will require you to have some range. The cash outs that are inside buildings will require close range. Similarly, Las Vegas is also a mid-range map because of the tall buildings, which means that most fights are primarily inside buildings. However, there are some instances where you need to have some range when on the rooftops of buildings. Weapons like the XP and the ARN are very good on Vegas. Another mid-range map is Bernal. Similar to Skyway, weapons like the XP and the M11 are very good on this map because of all the buildings. Finally, Seoul is very similar to Fortune Stadium, but what makes it different is the locations of the cash outs. The cash outs are in long range parts of the map, which makes playing weapons like the XP more useful compared to close range guns. Kyoto used to be good with weapons like the LH and the sword, but after the big nerfs that these weapons got, it's not really worth using compared to the other weapons, so I would stick to the ARN, XP, and maybe the bow. Long range weapons are better on this map because structures are spread out and there are a lot more open areas which you could hold with long range weapons. Also, rooftops are perfect for head glitches, which is why it's better to play long range weapons on this map. Horizon is also a long range map because of the open roads and the big empty buildings, so I recommend playing the ARN and the XP and maybe the bow. Before you click off this video, I could see how many people subscribe to each specific video, so if you subscribe, it will show me that you guys want to see more of this. If you want to help make these videos, or you just want to chat with the community, then I put the Discord link in the comments.